So this weekend, you're going to take everything that you have been working on, reading notes, scales and key signatures, reading in two clefs, spelling chords, and now we know about chord symbols using Roman numerals. And we're going to do three analyses of hymns. Hymns are nice because the texture is such that you can look at a vertical stack and see a chord. So we don't have a lot of problem messing with that. They're also usually relatively simple, and I've chosen some examples that will work. Now, I have put links in your announcement/schedule page for these PDFs. So you should download them and print them, and then we'll work on this together. And part of the reason of doing this together is so that you get not just, oh, go and do this, but experience with somebody taking you through it. So, so we're going to start with Silent Night. And I'm picking this one in particular because most people have heard it. I think the biggest shortcoming that people have when they do analysis is they're so quick and impatient to get, figuring out chords and things that you forget the most important thing, which is whenever possible to listen. If you don't have a recording, you can plunk it out on piano. If you don't have a piano, you can sing it as well. So I will also include a link to where you can play this music, but I'll just play it for you right now. It's the intro. Let's skip down to the bottom, right there. And now start from the beginning. Okay. And I encourage you, when you do any analysis, to get to know the music very well, as much as you can before and as you do this. But hopefully this is fairly familiar to you and we just listen to it as well. So how do we approach this? What does the end goal look like? Well, the end looks like a key identified right here telling us what key we're in, and then the chords, and not chord symbols, but the chord number or function down below. So we'll be writing in Roman numerals for chords here, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at our key signature, two flats, and you should know that that's either B flat major or G minor, but it sounds like it's in major. It sounds sweet and pure and nice. And if we look at the last chord of the piece, we have a B flat and a B flat and a B flat and a D, which is 2/3 of B flat major. And if we look at the beginning, we have a B flat and a B flat and a D and an F. So it definitely feels like B flat major. So how do we mark this? We start right here at the beginning and put a large B flat and a colon. That tells us that we are analyzing the music in the key of B flat. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to try and get an idea looking at this when we change chords. Now, this is a fairly simple texture. And I think if we look here at the bass line, it's like B flat, silent night, holy night, all. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is all a singular chord, okay? And we've already done this. We look at the stack right here, B flat, D, and F, okay? And because B flat key, B flat is a one chord, and if you remember, one chords are major, and B flat D F is major, we put a large Roman numeral or uppercase right there. Now, this here, it does actually form a different chord if you go E flat, G, B flat. We're not going to worry about that right now. If you think about it in simplest terms, if you were to play accompaniment on a guitar or something, you'd just be strumming a B flat chord here and you'd sing Silent Night, and you wouldn't worry about the notes that were extraneous to the chord. They're non-chord tones, and it doesn't change the fact that you'd be strumming a B flat chord for here and for here. And since there's nothing here that's different than this, in fact, it's a repeat, we don't need to write anything in. Although I guess if we were doing for a test and it said, what's this chord right here, and had a blank spot right there for us, and then what's this chord right here, you could put another one in there, but I'm not gonna, okay? Here, our bass note changes. So remember that the most important scale degrees and the chords built on them are the tonic and the dominant. And I'm going to check the bass line. Now, the bass line isn't always the root of the chord, but many times it is. And at least we can get started right there. Do you see how this is an F right there? And if you don't have the B flat scale in your head real quick, you could spell it B flat, right? C, D, E flat, F, G, A. Although we want to get to the place where we don't need to do that because you want to be fast enough at your scales to not worry about that. But indeed, F is the 5 chord. F, A, C, right? F, A, E flat, C. Let's talk about that. We have an F. I'm just going to write it in right here. You don't have to. We have F, A, C, and an E flat. Some people will get confused and say, is this an A chord, A, C, E? But it's not. It's a 5 chord. It's F, A, C. What's the E flat? Well, that's my 7th right there, right? So this is an F chord with a 7th. And the 5-7, or the 7th on the 5 chord, is the most common form of chords with a 7th on them. And remember that because it's going to come up again and again through these things. So this is a 5 chord, it's an F chord, and we throw a 7 on there to remind us that it's not the triad, but it is just a 5 chord with a 7th, F, A, C, E flat. Okay, we've come back down to B flat, and I'm going to bet that at the end of this phrase, almost always you're going to have 1s and 5s. Occasionally it's different than that, but we like to frame up that way. And if we look here, B flat, F, D, B flat. So B flat, F, D, B flat. And we don't just try and figure out what that is. We say, is it this? Is it a B flat chord? B flat, D, and F, and it is, right? B flat, D, B flat, F. So this is back to a 1 chord. Now, one thing that's very common in writing is you see all these notes have changed here, but the bass line stayed the same. And in fact, the chord has stayed the same. So we will revoice or mix up the order of the notes to give us a new melody or a new harmony inside. But that's it right there. We've identified this as all being harmonized with the 1 chord. This is all being harmonized with the 5 chord with a 7th. We call it a 5-7 chord or a dominant 7 chord and a 1 chord. Notice they're all uppercase because these are major triads or major chord or chords with major triads in them. Okay, second line. We have a new bass note here, E flat. E flat is not part of the B flat chord. It could be part of this chord right here, but I'm thinking maybe not. Let's check out what our notes are right here. We have E flat. Oh, sometimes it's nice if you write them on the side here somewhere on a scrap piece of paper. B flat, because then you don't have to keep them in your head after identifying them. E flat and G. It's not a B flat chord. It's not a G chord, GBD. It's E, G, B, right? Now, here's where your knowledge of chord quality comes in real handy. We could say, oh no, it's an E flat chord and then it's got a G and a B flat and try and figure out if that's major or minor or whatever. But 1, 2, 3, it's the 4 chord. Do you remember that the 4 chord is always major? If we did this out the long way, E, G, B, E, G sharp, B, E flat, G, B flat, we find out that it is major, but you can just say, aha, it's a chord in the 4 position here, 4th scale degree, and there are no accidentals or sharps or flats changing anything, so it's a 4 chord, and 4 chords are major, right there. Again, you see this nice, solid, stable thing here? Even though we leap up and get to the G and B flat, and then these guys are different, I'm going to put parentheses around them just to remind us not to worry about them so much. It is, 4 chord. How about this guy right here? Well, Are you starting to see patterns? You don't have to reinvent this every time, but do you see how this here looks an awful lot like this right here? Well, it's exactly the same, in fact. So, and it's a 1 chord, right? Okay, uppercase, because they're major chords. Here, we have a different configuration of notes, but do you see the E flat right there, and the B flat right there, and the G, E, G, B, and they're flats, right, because of the key signature. This is another revoicing or rearranging of the notes of the 4 chord, but it's still an E flat chord, E, G, B flat. So 4 chords are major. There's no notes that have been altered. And if you look all the way through here, if you count through, we have a few transient notes right here that are not part of the 4 chord, but it's all 4 chord. And our bass line especially is reinforcing that. The lower the note, the more control it has over our perception of the harmony. If you've ever been in a choir and you're an upper voice like a soprano, and the basses, if they sing flat, you sound sharp. If they sing sharp, you sound flat. And you can be right on pitch, but everybody hears you in relationship to that lower note. So, all right. And this here is the same here. We want to take a look at things that are repeated or patterns to save us time, right? So again, 1, 5, 7, 1. See how it ends on the 1 chord? It's like bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum. Ends this little mini phrase on a 1. Yeah, da, 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 da. There we go. Okay. Well, I have an F here. Well, let me scooch up. I have an F, and I have an A, and excuse me, I have E flat and C. That looks an awful lot like what we had right there. In fact, they're identical, right? So clearly this is a 5/7 chord, right? And you can see that this leaps up and that stays the same and that leaps up, and you know, there's revoicing. We have F, no A anymore because the A went away temporarily, C, E flat, and E flat. But just because all the notes are not there all the time, doesn't mean that this is not, right, an F7 chord or F dominant 7, 5/7 chord. There's no new information. Everything is still supporting it. We just heard the A. There's enough information, plus the importance of 5 in the key, and we've had it before, tells us that even though there's not enough there, it's still okay. It's going to be a 5/7 chord. Think of it like this. Let's say you live in a home with people, and you know, your whole family lives there. Let's pick the most idyllic sort of template. There's a mom and a dad and a daughter and a son and another baby. If you want a little sister or a little brother, you can choose. That's fine. And a dog and a cat. Okay. Just because they're not all present all the time doesn't mean that they're not living there, right? So just because you don't always see the A perfectly at every moment of every second of every part of that measure doesn't mean that it's not, you know, it's a disqualified chord. Chords can be incomplete or partial. They can be complete. Different parts can be doubled, whatever. The roots don't always have to be in the bass, although many times they are. And it's a good place to start. So, excuse me. One thing that we want to start thinking about is something called not just chord function, like 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, etc., but what are their jobs? 1's job is to be home, right? 5's job is to take us home. So when I see a 5 chord like this, I'm expecting to see a 1 chord right here, right? We had it here like that. Okay, I'm expecting after here to be a 1 chord. So it's not guessing. I'm looking to confirm B flat, D, B flat, F. Yep, it's a 1. Okay, well, I can hear a siren outside. I certainly hope they're not coming for me. Hashtag I didn't do it. Revoicing of this, but still B flat there, B flat there, F there, D there. Okay, F chord. Now, let's, I just want to point this out here. This is still a 1 chord. It's tricky. B flat, D, F, F. Stems up and stems down, tenor and bass, right? And then F and B flat and D and F. So technically it's a 1 chord. And for our purposes, we're going to put a 1 there. Do you see how the F, the 5th of the chord, is in the bass? Later, we're going to learn that sometimes at the end of a line, when you have a 5 chord going to a 1 chord, and we're just about to finish up, they'll put a 1 chord in front of there, but they'll put the bass note as the sol, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, or the 5th degree, and it moves directly into there. And it's one acting as a 5. It teams up with 5 and does this job. We'll have a different name for it later. Don't worry about it, except that we're going to see it lots of times. Okay, has a special name and function, but it's still the notes of a 1 chord, even though it's not perfectly acting like a 1 chord. And then we have, again, more 1 chord stuff right there. But then here, when we finally get to the end, we have an F, a C, and an E flat, a F, E flat, A, and C. This is definitely my 5. Don't forget the 7 because it's got an E flat on there. And like I said at the very beginning, here we have a B flat and a D and a B flat and B flat. Where's the F? It doesn't matter. This whole piece is then in the key of B flat. 1 has been prominent and prevalent everywhere. 5 chords take us back to the 1s, and here I have a 5 chord at the end. And you don't even have to have all the notes. You don't have to have any notes other than B flat there, and that will tell you what the function is. Now, you might not like the sound of it without more harmony, but usually a root and a third is enough, right? Even a root is enough to give you information about what it is. All right, nice. Lord, dismiss us with our blessing. If you've taken piano lessons when you were a child, you may have had a book that had something like Go Tell Aunt Rhody, the Old Grey Goose is Dead. This is the same tune. I'm going to play it for you, and you should. Now I'm going to take you through some of this, and then I'm going to let you do some of it on your own, okay? So let's just play this. So these are going to play the introductions. And now it will go back and start from the beginning. The recording's going to repeat so you can sing along with it a bunch of times. All right. I really should make you listen to this a bunch of times. You should listen to this a bunch of times unless you're really, really familiar with this. Because if you did listen to it with an active ear, you would suspect and quickly soon realize that line 1, line 2, and line 4 are all identical. That's sweet. That means we only need to analyze this much and we get 75% of the piece. You know what else is great about this? If you learn this, then you realize that this hymn, this song, has exactly 8 measures of music. It's got this 4 measures here. It's got this 4 measures here, and that's it, which means that you don't need too much to write, an endearing hymn or song. So think about that. It's not that much work. It's plenty of work, but it's not as much as you think. All right. I'll help you through this and get you started. 3 flats. I'll give you a second to think about that. B flat, E flat, and A flat is the key or scale of E flat, right? Let's take a moment. Why don't you write out your E flat major scale right there and number them so we don't have to keep that juggled in our head. I'll give you a second or pause it. All right, here's the answers. Now, obviously, the more analysis you do, the more scales that you have in your fingers and in your head. Put B flat there. That's so funny. The less you have to do this and the more you can just rip this right out of your head and just go like, I got this. All right. That means that this note right here, E flat, and the E flat chord are going to be our one chord, and we're going to see tons of that. B flat and B flat 7, right? Not just B flat DF, but B flat DF and then A flat because of the key signature is going to be our 5 or 5/7 chord. I'm not saying that these other chords can't show up, but the framing chords are these guys. And remember, 5 likes to take us to 1. 1 can go to 5, but 1 can go to many other things. Okay. Now let's scan our bass line and see how we do. I have an E flat and an E flat. I'm going to put a 1 chord. Remember, we're in major key and 1 chords are major. Question mark. And I've got a B flat. So I'm going to go 5 chord, question mark. I'm using pencil so I can erase that. And then look, I've got E flat again, 1 chord. And I presume these are question marks. 1 chord, 1 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord. Is it that easy? Let's take a look here. Look for the overwhelming majority of E flat, G, and B flat. E flat, B flat, E flat, G. Now I know we have these notes that travel between, but they're like little extras that smooth out the line, right? Create linear motion. But can you see how it's just abundantly E flat chord right there? Nice. Okay. B flat, D, and F. I'm going to pause here just for a second. If you're going like, how does he know that so quickly? Well, we work on our notes, right? And we started with bass clef because we always look at the bass clef for analysis and things, right? Okay. And you can get faster just by practicing more, okay? B flat, D, and F. Well, B, D, F, B flat, because of this, it's our 5 chord. There's no 7th there. That would be an A flat, right? Just down from there. So this is our 5 chord right here. Uppercase, because it's 5 chords are major. And then this looks exactly the same as right there, right? I'm not even going to count it out. Those are my non-chord tones right there. And this looks exactly the same as that, except this line right here is now in here. And this line right here is now right there. It's called voice exchange. We're going to learn about that in next term. Hopefully you'll stick around for that sequence. And so this is still my 1 chord. You don't need to put anything there because we're already on the 1 chord. 5 chord right here. Well, there's B flat, A flat, D and F. B flat, D, F, A flat. That's my 7 right there. Yeah. This is not part of the chord, right? That's not part of the chord, but these all are, right? But it's got my 7th on there. And then 1 again. And that's pretty obvious. When you listen to this, you can hear that it ends up in a stable kind of I'm home place. This, if we look carefully, is all the same. This here is all the same. I'm not going to do this. We're just going to do 3rd line now. All right, now I'm going to help you with this, and then I'm going to let you do the rest on your own for homework, and I'll put up answers, okay? But see this E flats all the way along here? So I think this is all a chord here, right? Now, this is a little trickier because they've got an A flat and a C. Could be 2 different chords. However, do you see how this is the same here and this is the same here? And I'm wondering if this is just moving up and down inside the chord right there, right? So I think we're going to check it out like that. Plus, nowhere up till now have we moved any like between chords faster than 2 beats. So it'd be weird to all of a sudden start jumping around. I think you're going to find this is a single chord. And the E flat comes back. And I think, you know, they look really similar, right? I'm going to think that those are your chords right there. Have a go at them. Remember, you can check it against there. Remember, when you're trying to figure out what to put here for a chord symbol and a chord symbol and a chord symbol, just go with what you know about the quality of triads and major keys. There's no sharps or flats outside of the key signature here, so there's not going to be any changes to that. All right, so there you go. All right, last one. This should be completely unfamiliar to you unless you go to my church, and we don't even sing this one very much. Okay, but there'll be a link for where you can hear this, and I'm going to let you try it and take a whack at this one all on your own. Now, first thing, here's your list of things you should do to get this right. You should listen and sing. That's not a pun on your ear training, but get to know the piece really, 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 really well. Okay, and then you're going to listen for beginnings and ends of phrases. Okay, because they're likely to be ones or fives, right? Okay, and then you're going to 3, figure out and label the key, determine and label. Sorry, it's off the screen. And that is going to be done right there, like that. Put a colon after it. Okay, so we know what key we're analyzing in. All right. And then, you know, look at bass notes and like, I don't know what to call them, like stacks, the vertical, right? And then look for like for a repeated chords, shapes, etc. Because you can just say, oh, it's the same as this or that. And there's some of that there. Excuse me. Last thing, beware the 5, 7. All right, I'm going to help you with that right now. We're in the key of 3 flats. That's E flat, right? Okay, my 5 chord is A flat, C, E flat. But if I were going to put, oops, I lied. Sorry, thinking ahead of myself here. That's wrong. You should be going like, hey, what's he doing? B flat, D, and F, okay? However, if it's got the 7th on it, there'll be an A flat. And don't get confused here. Notice how this looks like a triad, and it is. But if it were a D chord, it would have the C up top, right? This is a B flat chord with an A flat, right? Not the other way around. Remember, not all the notes are going to be there sometimes too, although it might be all right in this case. I'm not sure. Okay, so be careful of that, right? Yeah, so that's it. And mark them and see how you do. Your success depends on doing these steps correctly and not sort of like rushing through them. Secondly, you should also be you know, thoughtful. If you have problems reading your notes, right? Well, you should be writing down the notes as you see them on the side to keep them out of your head so you don't have to juggle that, right? It could be reading notes in clefs, right? Maybe you're good at treble, maybe you're not good at bass or vice versa, okay? Maybe you're not sure about spelling chords, right? So that would cause a problem. Maybe you haven't really internalized the chord quality. Remember, 1s, 4s, and 5s are major, 2s, 3s, and 6s are minor, 7 is diminished, right? Okay, I'll put up an answer key on Sunday, but go through this. So you have to do right there. This one, I'm not even going to tell you where the chords are and things like that. By the way, listen and sing. It's good if you can play it too. But if you don't have great keyboard skills, just plunk out the melody, right? Plunk out the bass line, right? Spell your entire scale right there and number it to begin with right now while you're new at this. And as a final thought, once you start going like, huh, that's all it is, huh? How about that, huh? then another little tiny like shoulder angel or devil should pop up on the other side and go like, hey, you know what? I bet if we looked at a bunch of these and really got an idea of how they keep doing all this, we could just reverse engineer that and write our own songs. Bing, that's what we're going to eventually be doing. All right. Have a great weekend. Keep working on your dictation stuff in the other class. You need to do that. And we'll see you on Monday for class at 10.